When I started this video, it was so nice and bright outside. I'm now dealing with minimal lighting and I have missed this golden hour, but anyway, here we go. So in response to some videos that I saw on Instagram of some young dancers being totally mistreated, assaulted, abused in a video that was thankfully captured by, I think, one of the dancers, I really became so irate and I just needed to share some of my experiences, but also share how we can work together better as artists, as organisers, to improve an industry that has been suffering with the same repetitive issues for many years. I really admire their bravery and their honesty in speaking out about their experiences. The entertainment industry is a very small, cliquey, elitist kind of industry. They are closed communities at times, and there are people who hand out opportunities based on who they think requires recognition. There is a power imbalance between the organisers and the artists, and that is something that people really struggle with until you are very famous and have a certain amount of following. All the people that are struggling to make it are just consistently devalued. That power imbalance is something that we need to work together as a community to solve, and it's going to take all of us. It's going to take a collective responsibility and approach. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how we can get there. I'm 31 years old now. I started performing when I was probably around 16, 17. I performed a lot during university and I did countless university shows, and even after went on to perform in various events. And to be honest, these are things that I was also guilty of in the beginning, not necessarily as an organizer, as an artist, and it's something that I've continually tried to work on and improve on. So it's a process, and we are all part of that process. But first and foremost, the message has to land with organisers. If you are organising an event, if you are pitching yourself as a gateway to opportunity for artists, that comes with some responsibilities. It's not fair to expect artists to perform for free. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. When you're asking an artist to perform at an event of yours, you're asking for so many things: their time, their expertise, their talent, their health, the practice, the hours and hours of practice. You're asking them to be passionate about, the idea for the event that you have, etc. Just how you would budget for food or for a venue. These non-negotiables. Art should also be one of those non-negotiables. I cannot tell you how many events we did for free. And I'm not necessarily talking about university events. I'm talking about organizations who are putting on like a social event for Tamil speaking kids at university, or people who are putting together brunches for Tamil speaking people, or whatever it might be. Regardless of the type of event, even if you are a charity event, this is something that you should try and budget for. If you're not able to pay them monetarily, pay them in other ways, by giving them food, or giving them some merchandise, or whatever it is that you find are alternatives. Great, go for that. Or even speaking to your sponsorships, whoever's sponsoring your event, and seeing if there's some way in which you can reward your artists. Great. Not amazing, but we all work within constraints, right? And the reality is that we don't all do events that are very well funded, so that's fine. And ultimately, if an artist or artists are happy to perform for free at their own cost, then that is up to them. But still, even if you are not paying them any money, there are still so many things that you can do, like communicating with them, having a designated person who is in charge of communicating with your acts, responsible for their well-being before the event, during the event, and after the event is so important. Someone with oversight, someone who has that kind of, is able to advocate for their needs. Give your artists a contract, even if it is the most basic of contracts. Give them a contract that shows them when they're performing, how much time you're giving them to perform, where they're performing, what time they need to be there, etc., etc., etc. All of that needs to be detailed, and it's ultimately, yes, a joint responsibility between the artist and the people that are hiring them, but that is so important. Work with contracts. It protects you, but it also protects the artists, and it sets out and it defines the expectation. So important. Venues are so notorious for having very strict cutoff times. By a certain time, they need everyone to have evacuated. That is not a magic number that is created by some venues for fun. That is the cutoff time. Are you finishing your event with enough time beforehand? These small things are so important. And when you're not planning an event, allowing for all of these mishaps, you're doing yourselves just such a disservice. But most importantly, you're doing your artists and your audience a disservice. It's not okay to suddenly come after the event and say, oh, there were all these unforeseen circumstances. It is your responsibility as an organizer to look at what these unforeseen circumstances may be and plan for that. That is not the artist's role. That is your job as an organizer. Have you looked at venues that cater to artists? Have you got dressing rooms? Have you got areas for your artists to actually set up and get changed? You know, all of these things are important for you to look at, or find designated space for, or ask your artists to come ready with that expectation. Again, finding out what resources are available to you in a venue is so important. Make sure you have the appropriate equipment. Cannot stress this enough. Do you have a DJ? Do you have sound guys? Do you have lighting technicians? Do you have the appropriate people that your entertainment needs? If so, link them up early. Make sure they can communicate with each other and have everything they need. You could have an artist that agrees to bring things with them and agrees to bring their own equipment, but is that suitable for you? Does that match your expectations and your vision for the event? Does that meet the artist's needs? Art equipment is expensive, so is that a cost that you're bearing? Stop viewing artists as just entertainment. If you're asking an artist to come and perform, believe in that artist, believe in what they're showcasing, mean what you say. If you're looking for a singer or a dancer or a dance group or whatever it may be, is that a group that you guys are actually passionate about showcasing? And if so, why? For me, as a singer, having an audience that is attentive and is there to purely listen to music and enjoy music is so important. So important. So is there something else you could do that's entertaining for your audience? Or, you know, are you picking appropriate times for your performers to perform? Are you asking a singer to perform during a dinner time? In which case people are going to be distracted. They're going to be walking around. They're going to be serving food, eating, you know, like there's only so much focusing you can do on singers and dancers if you're stuffing your mouth full of like biryani, you know? So think about these things and think about when you really want people to perform. Stop being over ambitious with your time. If you have a set amount of time for acts, stop planning 20, 30 acts within that time. That will save you and also save your artists so much stress. This happens all the time. Back in the day when I used to do university shows, they would pack them out because they're trying to give so many different opportunities. But we always overran, things always ran late, and it just ended up really stressful. So do yourselves a favor and stop doing that. Now, my artists, my fellow artists, so what can we do to help improve this situation? Because yes, there is responsibility on the organisers, but there's also responsibility on us, right? If we respect ourselves, we respect our art, then people will sense that and therefore give us that same time and respect that we also deserve. Show up on time. Cannot be said enough. This is something that I used to take so lightly back in the day and was just so reckless with, me along with so many other people. Now I try so hard. If I'm going to be at an event, I turn up on time. Sometimes people who are organising events ask me to turn up on the time of the event, but I always make sure that I'm there earlier so that I have time to talk to the DJ, time to sort out mics, sound checks, etc., etc. Be responsive, be organised. You know, when someone's WhatsApping you about the event, try and get back to them, don't delay, those sorts of things. Again, this is also something I have tried to be better at over time. I definitely would have slipped up on this on many occasions, but I am trying to be better. Planning is everything, right? So if you are driving somewhere, making sure that you leave enough time for mishaps, again, as an artist, really, really important. If you've been given a certain time limit, so you've been given 4 minutes to put a dance act together, stick to the 4 minutes. Don't go to 4.5 minutes or 5 minutes, stick to that. If you're going to stretch beyond that time, discuss it with your event organisers, because ultimately, if you've gone above a certain restriction and you get cut off, or not saying, by the way, that that's what happened to the artists in that particular video, I just mean in general, if you're going above that time limit, then you are going to be pushing back an already very tight schedule. So stick to the limits. If it's not appropriate for you, speak to the organisers. Pick and choose your events. I mean, pick and choose events that you really can get behind. The thing is, you're spending so much of your time, energy, health, and you are investing that into an event. And if you don't believe in the cause, or, you know, you're not happy with the organisers, or you've heard bad things or whatever, and you're doing that for the sake of opportunity or exposure, that is on you. Pick and choose who you perform for. If you've had a bad experience, spread that word. You know, if that is ultimately and truly the responsibility of that organizer and poor organizational skills, then spread the word like all of these people have, so that other artists don't make the mistake of falling into the trap and working for those artists. Get a contract, a signed contract that details all of the things that are important and relevant to your performance, that protects you. Google a simple artist contract. Just Google it. It's always there. We used it for a band that I was part of over the years for weddings and other events. It's so important. Even if you think, oh, actually, well, what does a contract mean? It's just a piece of writing. Someone's going to know a lawyer. Like within this circle that we will operate in, someone's going to know a lawyer. Someone's going to be able to support you. And you know, it's a binding contract between you and the organizer, and it just protects you more in law. Whether or not you decide to pursue taking that person to court, or going through like a small claims court, or taking legal action, etc., etc., it's just that extra layer of protection. Please just do it. Stop charging people for just your time. So when I was putting together quotes for our music and our performances, things I took into consideration and factored in was travel time, travel costs, rehearsal costs, studio hire, you know, the cost of our equipment and practicing and maintaining the equipment that we use. It was travel to and from the venue, time spent at the venue. So factor in all of these little costs and, you know, don't be unreasonable, but present your case to the organisers. And this is where the organisers come in. They should also be prepared to pay you for those kinds of costs. The thing is, as singers, as dancers, we are investing so much of our health into these art forms, right? We're investing our time and our health, and these things look like taking time out from dancing, having baths, looking after ourselves, having massages, or finding a physiotherapist, or recovering from injuries, or all of these sorts of things are all part of that discipline, and it's so important that you are reimbursed. Art is resistance. Art is political. It's radical. Art is true expression in a world that is consistently trying to constrain us. It is so important that communities start valuing and respecting art, because we do have the privilege of being able to try and pursue these kinds of careers. that are not typically respected or viewed as being safe careers. And this is an example of why, right? So if we're going to work towards being in a world that really values art, then this is all part of that. And we really, really need that within Tamil speaking communities. We really need our parents, ourselves, people who are hiring us to understand how sacred art is to us, and also that there is a viable career option within art. And we can only do that by working together. Everything I've talked about is not exhaustive. There are probably so many other things that I've missed, and please do share your experience of that. It would be great to know if you have any other tips for artists as well. Yeah, let's get to talking and let's get to building a more healing, creative, and collaborative community of artists where we all feel safe, we all feel seen, we all feel valued. And if we can get to that, then yeah, that would be a wonderful thing. I'll see you next week.